Welcome to this module, all focused on meal planning. Absolutely crucial topic, and it's going to be a huge benefit to absolutely everybody to a certain degree. When it comes to meal planning, it can help you in so many different ways. So let's get stuck in. So I'm going to go over a few fundamental reasons as to why we need to meal plan in the first place. Is it even worth it? We're going to be taking a look at searching for recipes. We're going to be giving you some meal planning examples as well, and also some top tips to make sure that you stay consistent and don't maybe think about meal planning as a temporary thing. Let's utilise meal planning to its full potential and have consistency going forward over the coming months and years. So why do we need to meal plan to begin with? So there's been lots of really interesting research published in the area of meal planning. So one study in particular found that out of 139 participants, they found that basically if you meal plan more frequently, it also has a knock-on effect to getting better weight loss results. So in other research as well, meal planning has been found to literally double the rate of weight loss. So, in real terms, people who don't meal plan, let's say, might be, for example, losing in and around about £1 per week. And then people who do meal plan are facilitated way more. So they end up closer to £2 per week in body weight lost. So what was also found in the research, which was particularly interesting, is that as the frequency over time of meal planning reduced, so too did their rate of weight loss as well. So we can clearly see that there's a nice tight-knit correlation between people who meal plan and people who don't. And there's lots of reasons for this. So meal planning helps in many different ways. So let's say you've got a particularly busy day coming up midweek next week. If you meal plan and think ahead of time, you're going to put measures in place so that your nutrition is on track regardless of those peaks in workloads or social calendars or whatever it is that's going on. Whereas people who don't meal plan will just end up basically getting to that day and facing those challenges, and it has the impact because nothing's been in place to buffer it. They just have the impact to their weight loss results. So planning can help in lots and lots of different ways, even other areas which we'll not go into, but things like, cost saving, for example, just giving you complete peace of mind. Once you've created your meal plan, it mentally you can almost put it to rest. You don't have to think about it. So it helps in so many different areas. So when it comes to searching for recipes, obviously by this stage, we've already talked about lots of different types of dietary strategies, so it's going to be different for everybody. So let's say if you're going low carb, for example, when you're searching for your recipes, it might be worth just having little entries like this, for example. So 100 calorie low carb curry. That could be a fish curry, chicken curry. Obviously, it's entirely up to you. Obviously, we've got a few other examples there as well. And we're thinking about obviously searching online at this stage, but there's lots and lots of different ways of generating those recipes. So, there's lots of blog articles out there, there's websites out there, there's top chefs and celebrity chefs. They've got shows and books and things like that. There's so many different recipes out there, as long as it's got the interesting data that you need. So, for example, the total calorie amounts, whether it's, the total amount of carbohydrates or protein or fat. Those are the bits that are of interest, but there's so many different options out there, thousands and thousands of different options. So plenty of resources available to populate your particular meal plan based on the strategy that you're wanting to pursue. So just to give you a bit of an example of what a meal plan might look like, again, this is not really focused any other way in particular other than on the calories and the protein. So again, if yours is going to be low carb, you might want to take a look at that. But at the same time, don't forget, like we mentioned before, if you're going low carb, for example, we're reducing those carbohydrates, but we're not replacing it with anything else. So you can see that the total calorie amounts are being reduced as a result of that mechanism. So it's going to be interesting. Even if you're going low carb, you can still be taking a look at the calorie data. If you're going low fat, does it result in a reduction in calories? So this is where the meal planning aspect comes in really handy, because you can have all of that information in front of you. So again, I've just created just a standard meal plan here. We've got in and around about 140 grams of protein, and it's coming in just over 1,700 calories. So you can manipulate this how you wish. So if we wanted to have a day where there was a little bit lower calories, let's say if it was like a non-training day, and I wanted to just reduce my calories on non-training days, we've got 2 slices of whole grain toast. I might maybe, for example, reduce that to 1. So there's loads of different ways that we can manipulate these types of recipes. So we've got scrambled eggs on toast with an apple there. We've got some chicken breast on a whole grain bun. We've got some side salad with mixed greens and so on. And then for the evening meal, we've got some salmon fillet, and also with a little bit of flavour in there with lemon and dill, and some broccoli and quinoa as well. So we've got some basic measurements there as well. But again, that could, if you need more calories, it could easily be, 3/4 of a cup of quinoa. It could be 2 grilled salmon fillets if you needed more protein and more calories there. So again, just think about what it is that you need from your dietary strategy that you've decided is going to work most effectively for you as an individual, and obviously how we can manipulate anything like this so that it fits exactly for what you need. Just another example, I wanted to give a bit more of a plant-based example here. Again, just so you can see the calories, see how much protein is in dishes like these. And of course, in the snack section as well, we've got just when you're following a plant-based approach, it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult to keep those protein levels high. So for the snack section, we've got pea protein in this particular meal plan. So we've got some overnight oats. We've got some chickpea salad, we've got a lentil curry, and then we've got some snacks like roasted edamame beans as well with sea salt. So like we said, you can clearly see the calories, you can clearly see the protein and the totals just at the bottom there. So it's coming in and around just under 1,700 calories again, and 120 grams of protein. So when it comes to consistency, I really, really want you to think about meal planning in a bit of a different way, really. To begin with, when you create your first plan, it's going to take a little bit of time, because if there's literally nothing on the page, then it's going to take a little bit of time to, let's say, have 7 breakfasts, 7 lunches, 7 evening meals, and 7 snacks. You don't even have to have the snack section there if you don't wish. So it could be even simpler. But to begin with, obviously, it's going to just take a little bit of time just to populate that. But just think about it. Let's say on week 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, the only thing that you're going to have to do going forward is swap out a few of those recipes. If you're wanting to keep it fresh and keep it exciting when it comes to the recipe side of things, all you'll need to do is just, like we said, swap out 3 or 4 maybe of those recipes each week, and it'll constantly circulate and constantly be fresh and exciting going forward. So just that first initial effort, we just need to spend a little bit of time on that. It might take you half an hour, let's say, for example. Whereas from that point onwards, the more and more you focus on meal planning, it might literally end up taking 5 minutes every Sunday, for example. We also just need to have that habit as well. So just like, dropping the kids off at school or going to do the big shop every week, we need to have that weekly habit of sitting down and just making sure that we're ring fencing some time to basically have that habit of meal planning and thinking ahead and thinking in advance about the foods that you're going to be consuming. So it could be, for example, every Sunday evening you sit down, once all the house is tidy and you've got everything ready for work the next day, you're going to sit down, put pen to paper, or it could be in your phone, it could be in an app. It doesn't really matter, as long as we're going through that habit every single week of thinking in advance what we're going to have for the following week. Another tool is a little bit more of a psychological tool, and we'll be going into this in much more detail in a future module. However, when it comes to the importance of meal planning, what we need to do is attach the reason why you're on this journey to begin with to that habit of meal planning. Because when it really, really matters to you, and you think about the reason why you're wanting to achieve your goals, for example, it could be to be a role model to your children, or it could be anything. It could be health related. It could be a myriad of different reasons, but it's got to be something that's really important to you personally. And we're going to think about that why. Why are you doing this? You're going to think about that every single time that you meal plan. So it's not something that becomes cumbersome or a chore that you have to do. It's something that you're almost excited about doing because you know it's going to get you close to your goals. And then also, just a little quick tip, just make sure you keep a list as you run out of ingredients throughout the week as well. So when it comes to herbs and spices that you use up, if there's an empty jar and you leave it on the side ready for the bin, it might be worth just noting that down. And then as you go through the week, when you run out of chicken and eggs and milk and bread and so on and ingredients, your shopping list is automatically being populated as you run out. So you might only need to add a few bits and pieces, and you've already got your shopping list created there as well. So hopefully this gives you lots and lots of insight into the idea of meal planning and making sure that we stay consistent, the benefits. It's something that's going to help you so much in the long run, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you on the next module.